Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and today we're going to be discussing the pearl of great price. The pearl of great price. Man, what a big price. So, as we discuss the pearl of great price, what's important to understand is that the pearl costs everything. So the story goes, right, the individual is looking for something that is so valuable that it can buy anything and everything forever, and the cost of that is everything that you have. So what does that mean? Well, when you look at the way that you create reality, okay, so you put it into that dimensional spacing, you're understanding that you have a direct effect on your reality via your observership and where you place your awareness, right? You know this because when you have an argument in your head with somebody for months on end, and then that argument happens, that is a direct result of you could call it emotional grid work, you could call it fourth dimensional creation, you could call it manifestation from the unseen realm, where you're arguing with your friend in that, mental space, to seeing it reflected on the screen of space, right? But until you have awareness, you just think that those are two individual effects, right? So you think that, hey, I was arguing with this person in my head, and then look, I was right. They argue with me back. See, I was right in my head the whole time, right? That distinction is really important because you have to understand that all of that mental phenomena is being pushed into your external world, right? So the real game of metaphysics, or if you want to call it manifestation, law of attraction, law of assumption, it really all boils down to just managing that inner mind space, that fourth dimensional space, the realm of your imagination, thoughts, and emotions. Because if you have different causes and effects, right? You have multiple causes and multiple effects. That goes back to being in the land of many gods, because now you're trying to serve all of these different causes, serve all of these different gods, and appease them so that you get the effects that you want, right? So it's like all externally based. Your power is all externalized. Well, if I have this technique, or if I do this process, then I will get this outcome, right? Which can be true if you're that identity that already has it and knows that it's theirs, then you can manifest that. But the power is not really in the technique, right? The power is in your ability to be aware of what you are creating internally and be aware of its reflection externally. So when you look at the pearl of great price, what you're really looking at is looking at all of the different causes in your life and tabulating, are they the real cause of what's happening, right? So say you have like a bill pop up and you weren't expecting it, and it's like a thing, and you're like, oh no, like I knew this was gonna happen. If I only had a better job, then I'd be able to pay this bill. Because I don't have a better job, this is happening to me, right? Do you see how you place that causation on something of your choosing? I mean, the bill is going to come either way, right? If you're in that state. So does it really matter what job you have? Because you're in a state of somebody who's getting bills that are bigger than they can pay. That's the real issue, is the state, right? Because if you're in a different state, you're in a different state of consciousness. And a different state of consciousness means a different vibration, a different wavelength on the spectrum. We're all on the spectrum. Okay, I'll let you guys figure out what that means. But a different wavelength on the spectrum, Jesus Christ, a wavelength on the spectrum that is indifferent in terms of it being amoral, right? Your universe has magnetic properties to your field, your electromagnetic field. So when you're looking at you syncing up, and you sync up, you literally sync up, okay? When you are out and about and you run into somebody and you have a conversation, they tell you about a party, and then you end up going to the party, like you synced up with that person, right? There's billions of people. It's not random. So you have to ask yourself, if it's not random, then how is the system syncing me up with different people, places, and circumstances? Well, the system is syncing you up based off of what you are emitting, right? If you are emitting pheromones that attract bees, bees are going to be all up in your beesness, okay? If you're sending out fentanyl pheromones, people are going to try and sell you fentanyl, right? Like whatever you're emitting, and by emitting, I mean energetically being. What is being? That's dimensional marriage. It's I am, which is your fifth dimension, right? Your awareness, understanding that you are you. Even if you don't have any thoughts or any emotions that you're placing your awareness on, you're still you. Newsflash, you can't die. You're an immortal soul, okay? And then you have your mind overlaid on top of that, and then you have the external physical world. So when you marry your identity to a thought pattern or to an internal type of structure, which is a thought, an emotion, a mental movie, an imaginative act, right? And you accept that as true and identify with it, then it crystallizes into a reality with enough persistent awareness on that, okay? So when you use the Pearl of Great Price, what you're doing is you're understanding that everything is created from that marriage of your identity to your fourth dimensional imaginative acts. I and my Father are one, right? Christ represents that fourth dimensional imagination. I am is the Father, right? The Father is everything. It's the all space, right? You can think of the sun as the sun, right? The sun in the sky is the sun, and then the blackness where everything else comes out of is the Father, right? So you have the Father, which is all encompassing, which everything comes out of and everything works through, and then you have your imagination, which is overlaid on that screen of space, and then you have physical manifestation, which is the ramification and densified version of that non-physical energy, that more subtle energy that one, when focused on, has the ability to materialize into your personal sphere, okay? So everything around you is honoring that frequency that you're emitting, right? So if you get serious about your business, you can change that frequency to match up with different stuff. So the only thing that happens that really gets everything screwy is when you have a mismatch frequency, meaning that you desire something, but your frequency is not in alignment with having it, okay? So when you desire something, the correct way to have a desire is to go, oh, what a great reminder of something that I have. And then you experience it fully in your fourth dimensional mental space and customize it the way that you want it to be, accept it as true, and allow that to manifest outside of you, knowing that your creative act will have a repercussion. But if you have a desire and then you immediately go, oh no, I don't have that. Oh shit, I feel so bad about not having that. How am I ever gonna get that? Then in your now moment, you first put yourself in an identity that not only has it, but you also clock yourself as an identity that doesn't have the means on its own to achieve it. You have to go do something, become something, or have something outside of you assist you. Oh man, if they would only call me back and send the check, then I could get the check. What are they doing? Second cause. You put a causation on them doing something. What do you want? The money in your bank. Well, is focusing in your fourth dimensional reality and accepting as true a version of them that hasn't paid you in alignment with the reality that you're already paid? No, it's just a mismatch, right? So you don't judge yourself or you don't be mean to yourself, but you just understand it's inaccurate thinking. And there's no morals, there's no judgment, there's no emotion attached to it. It's precision versus non-precision. okay? So think about it from a non-emotional standpoint. You want to be someone who just hits their mark over and over and over again in that fourth dimensional space, and specifically with the identity of having and being, right? I am this person. Okay, well, how do you know that you are something? Well, you're identified with it, and your energetic vibrational signature is a complete, utter match to that with zero contradictory energy, okay? So anytime you have contradictory energy, it's usually between two causes that you've externalized. I want this, but I can't have it. And then that friction builds up and creates resistance, which creates stress, which kills you. So try not to do that. You want to have straight laser beam. You want to have super straight focus. You want to say, desire, cool. I am the person who has this now. Why? Because pearl of great price. One God. The whole premise of the Bible and the Old Testament. One God. Not a lot of gods. No false idols. No fake business. Okay? One God. Why do you have one God? Well, because if you have one God and you're one with that God, then you're tapped in to the source of all creation. Why do you want to be tapped into the source of all creation? Because that's your real nature. And when you have that real nature, then you understand that you're creating your reality essentially through how you're placing your awareness, right? If I'm aware of red bicycles in my mind all day, all I'm going to see outside is red bicycles. All I'm going to do is attract different thoughts that compound red bicycles. What type of red bicycles are there? Well, I've been thinking about it for 8 years. Let me tell you everything I know about red bicycles. So whatever you chronically have that awareness on, you're going to manifest in the world. So the key is going to the highest leverage point and focusing that awareness on what you want exclusively, knowing that that is the cause of all things. When you have second causes, you empower that cause. So sometimes people have these belief structures where they're like, well, if I drink this, then this will work. And it's true for them, right? Because they have belief that this is working for them, but the thing isn't actually producing the result. It's their belief in it. That's the whole point of placebo. Like 50% of placebos work. If a drug works for 50% of people, they sell it even if it's a sugar pill. Because your belief in a cause will cause that cause to have the effect that you believe it will have. Now you want to really understand that because you want to be in control of what you're empowering. If you're empowering that person who hasn't paid you and you're typecasting them in your mind as somebody who hasn't paid you, then that's all that they can show up to you as. Because if you orient back to the beginning of the video, you're always syncing up with things. You're syncing up with people, you're syncing up with places, and you're syncing up with events and circumstances all the time. None of it's random. It's all energetically managed by what you could call the law of attraction, okay? So if I make a mental assumption, right, what I'm doing is I'm taking a hard stance on what I'm emitting energetically. Law of Assumption 101. You assume something and then all of your five senses deny that it's true, but you persist in that knowingness that this is how reality is. You can only do that if you have the pearl of great price understanding, knowing that where you place that awareness is the real creator of reality. Because if you have belief in second causes, the second something happens, you assume that it's not here because something doesn't add up externally, right? When the correct path is to just see that externally, place good value on it, understand that it's just your reality modulating itself in a brilliant way to bring about what you want, whilst entertaining billions of other different frequencies and managing them all in coordination, right? If you want a specific person, and you're like, I have this person now, and then you see him with another person, you're like, oh great, it's not working. How do you know that that other person isn't breaking up with that person right now at that dinner so they can be with you? You just made an unconscious assumption based off of your expectation because your state of consciousness is in a defeated, unwanted place where you don't get what you want. So instead of chasing and doing a bunch of things externally, just change the inner state of consciousness, which is the foundational groundwork for the manifestational coordination of the people, places, and circumstances that are in alignment with that type of state, right? You could be in a state of anger, you can have a bunch of angry experiences, you can have a state of peace, you can have a bunch of peaceful experiences. So the real mastery comes in knowing and essentially making sure that every state that you enter in is by design, is done with intent, and is backed up with the knowledge that you create your own reality through who you're being. And that gets reflected back to you. And who you're being is who you're identified with in terms of feelings, thoughts, emotions. And now that you know that who you're being gets reflected, in order to master that process, you just flip every single thing that isn't you having or being what you want to being what you want or having what you want. And the more chronically you dwell in those states, the more you naturalize them in the same way that you may have a chronic fear of poverty or a chronic fear of illness or a chronic fear of getting older or a chronic fear of being ugly or a chronic fear of not having friends or whatever your problem is, right? It's all just an unwanted, I don't have state of consciousness. No emotion to it. Kill it, flip it. I am, I have, I am, I have, I am, I have. Emotionally repattern, emotionally repattern. Don't worry about the external, it's just reflection. Emotionally repattern, emotionally repattern, emotionally repattern. And that's how you build self-sufficiency in your electromagnetic field around you, which is the true coordinator of all of those people, places, and circumstances. And now you have your fingers on the controller, if you will, instead of just clawing at the monitor or the screen. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check the link tree out for the Spartan 1 Human Optimization Program as well as coaching. Leave anything in the comments in terms of videos you want made. And other than that, have a wonderful day and go conquer. I'll see you in the next one.